What if I told you that your entire future, your success, your destiny, your breakthrough depends on one thing, not luck, not talent, not even opportunity. There's a single decision, a single mindset that separates the dreamers and the doers, the ordinary from the unstoppable. You see, success doesn't come to the most gifted. It comes to the most consistent. The ones who refuse to quit when it's hard. The ones who show up even when no one's watching. This Owen thing determines whether you rise or fall, whether your vision fades or becomes reality. And the truth is, most people overlook it every single day. Once you understand it and live by it, everything in your life begins to shift. So before you scroll, before you give up, before you say, maybe tomorrow, listen closely, because this one thing could be the difference between staying stuck and stepping into the life you were meant to live. This one thing determines whether you will be successful or not. Success is determined by consistency, not talent, because talent may open the first door, but consistency keeps it open. Many people have extraordinary abilities, yet their lack of discipline prevents them from reaching their full potential. Consistency is what transforms small daily actions into unstoppable momentum. It's the quiet force behind every major breakthrough, the unseen effort that compounds over time. When someone shows up every day, even when they don't feel inspired, they are building habits that success recognizes and rewards. Talent gives you a spark, but consistency keeps the flame alive through storms, distractions, and doubt. Every time you stay committed, even when results seem invisible, you are strengthening the foundation of your future. Consistency is not glamorous. It doesn't always get attention or applause. It's waking up early when you'd rather sleep in, studying when no one is watching, practicing your craft when there's no promise of reward. It's the discipline to keep going, knowing that progress takes time. The world celebrates the final product, but rarely acknowledges the repeated effort that made it possible. Consistency doesn't demand perfection. It only asks that you refuse to stop. When you decide to stay faithful to your process, no matter how slow it feels, you begin to outlast those who depend only on bursts of talent or emotion. Many people with great talent never see lasting success because they depend on moments of motivation instead of building a lifestyle of persistence. Motivation fades, but discipline remains. When consistency becomes part of who you are, success is no longer something you chase. It starts to chase you. Each day you commit to your purpose, you add another layer of strength, another piece of experience, another brick to your vision. Over time, these layers build a structure that cannot be shaken by temporary setbacks. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary often comes down to who was willing to stay consistent the longest. Success rewards those who are patient enough to keep doing the right things, even when no one notices. It's about repetition with purpose, focus without distraction, and effort without excuses. Talent might make you known for a moment, but consistency makes you remembered for a lifetime. Every legend, every leader, every achiever shares this common trait. They never stop showing up. When you learn to value consistency over talent, you start to understand the real formula for success. You stop waiting for perfect conditions and start creating progress in imperfect moments. You begin to trust the process even when the results aren't visible yet. The small efforts, repeated day after day, create a wave of transformation that talent alone could never produce. Consistency is the bridge between goals and achievement, between potential and fulfillment, between dreaming and living the dream. Discipline separates dreamers from achievers because while dreams create vision, discipline builds reality. Every person has dreams, but only a few have the discipline to turn them into something tangible. Discipline is the bridge between desire and accomplishment. It's what keeps you moving when motivation disappears. Dreamers talk about what they want, but achievers wake up early, stay late, and do the work even when they don't feel like it. Discipline is not about comfort, it's about commitment. It's the internal strength that says, I will, when everything in you whispers, I can't. It's doing what's necessary instead of what's easy. Without discipline, dreams remain fantasies, ideas floating in imagination with no structure to hold them up. Discipline doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for consistency and focus. It's the act of choosing long-term success over short-term pleasure, the decision to sacrifice comfort today for confidence tomorrow. Discipline means showing up even when the excitement fades. It means training your mind to obey your goals rather than your emotions. Those who master discipline don't rely on how they feel. They rely on who they decided to become. Dreamers wait for the right moment, but achievers create it through disciplined action. Every great success story is written by someone who chose structure over spontaneity, focus over distraction, and persistence over procrastination. Discipline transforms potential into power. It teaches you to manage your time, your thoughts, and your habits. It removes the noise of excuses and replaces it with clarity and control. Every act of discipline adds to your confidence, reminding you that you are capable of shaping your own destiny. People often look at achievers and think they have special gifts, but most of the time, their gift is discipline, the ability to stay consistent when others give up. Discipline doesn't just shape your results, it shapes your character. It makes you reliable, focused, and mentally strong. Dreamers often wait for inspiration, while achievers work through resistance. They understand that emotion follows motion, that progress begins when you start, not when you feel ready. Discipline becomes their compass, guiding every step even when the path feels unclear. It builds habits that eventually make success automatic. It's not a one-time act, it's a lifestyle. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you are proving to yourself that your dreams are worth the effort. Discipline also demands sacrifice. You might lose sleep, comfort, or temporary pleasure, but you gain something far greater: growth, mastery, and fulfillment. It's the price achievers are willing to pay to see their vision come to life. Without discipline, dreams fade into regret. But with discipline, dreams gain form, direction, and strength. The disciplined are not necessarily the most talented, but they are always the most committed. They know that results don't come from wishing. They come from working, from doing what needs to be done, even when no one is watching. And that's what sets them apart from those who only dream. Daily habits shape long-term destiny, because what you repeatedly do becomes who you are. Success is never built in a single day. It is the result of small, intentional actions repeated over time. Every habit you form, good or bad, lays a brick in the foundation of your future. The choices you make each morning, the thoughts you entertain, the words you speak, and the actions you repeat create patterns that determine the direction of your life. People often underestimate the power of small routines, but those routines silently shape character, discipline, and destiny. When your habits align with your goals, progress becomes inevitable. Habits are the invisible architects of destiny. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Your daily actions are the true measure of your commitment to success. It's not the intensity of one great effort, but the consistency of countless small ones that makes the difference. The person who reads every day becomes knowledgeable. The one who practices every day becomes skilled. The one who prays, plans, or works with persistence eventually steps into greatness. Destiny doesn't happen by accident. It's built through deliberate daily discipline. Every habit either moves you closer to your dream or further away from it. That's why awareness is essential. You must constantly evaluate what you do with your time, your energy, and your focus. Good habits are difficult to form but easy to live with, while bad habits are easy to form but difficult to live with. If you want to change your destiny, start by changing your daily routine. Every great transformation begins with a single decision to act differently today than you did yesterday. Even the smallest improvement, when repeated consistently, becomes unstoppable momentum over time. Habits also shape your mindset. When you repeatedly act with purpose, your brain begins to associate effort with reward. You start to trust yourself more, to believe that consistency creates control. This builds confidence, resilience, and peace of mind. On the other hand, negative habits drain your energy and weaken your sense of direction. They trap you in cycles of frustration, making success seem distant. That's why people who guard their habits guard their future. They understand that destiny is not written in dreams, but in daily disciplines. The truth is that success doesn't demand massive change overnight. It only requires the decision to take small, consistent steps each day. Wake up a little earlier, learn something new, exercise discipline, express gratitude, and keep your focus sharp. Over weeks, months, and years, these actions accumulate into a life of excellence. Your habits decide your future long before you realize it. Every repeated behavior is a seed planted in time, and every seed eventually bears fruit. If you sow discipline, focus, and effort each day, your destiny will reflect it. What you repeatedly do becomes the story of who you are becoming, and that story is written one habit at a time. Commitment matters more than motivation because motivation is temporary, but commitment endures. Motivation is a feeling that comes and goes, often influenced by circumstances, emotions, or external inspiration. It gives you a spark to begin, but without commitment, that spark fades quickly. Commitment, on the other hand, is a decision. It's a promise to yourself that you'll keep going no matter how you feel. It's the inner vow that says, even when I don't feel like it, I will still show up. The truth is, success doesn't belong to the most motivated. It belongs to the most committed. Commitment keeps you moving forward when motivation disappears. It's the force that turns temporary excitement into lasting progress. Motivation might get you started on your journey, but commitment is what keeps you on the path. When the road gets difficult, life will always bring challenges, days when you're tired, frustrated, or uninspired. In those moments, motivation is silent, but commitment speaks louder. It reminds you why you began. It pushes you to take action even when the rewards aren't visible. People who rely only on motivation quit as soon as the feeling fades. But those who are committed find a way through every obstacle. They don't wait to feel ready. They take responsibility and do the work regardless of emotion. Commitment builds consistency, and consistency builds success. Every great achievement in history was driven by someone who chose to stay committed long after the excitement disappeared. Athletes, leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries all have one thing in common. They didn't depend on fleeting bursts of motivation. They built discipline through commitment. Motivation might tell you to dream big, but commitment tells you to get up early, work hard, and keep believing when results seem distant. It turns I wish into I will. It transforms uncertainty into determination. Commitment also creates focus. When you are truly committed, you stop entertaining distractions and excuses. You develop tunnel vision for your goals because you know giving up is not an option. Motivation can inspire you for a day, but commitment sustains you for a lifetime. It makes you reliable to yourself. It strengthens your character, teaching you that emotions are not the guide, decisions are. Commitment demands sacrifice, patience, and faith in the process. It's about doing what's right, not what's easy. The difference between success and failure often comes down to this single choice: to stay committed when others give up. Commitment doesn't depend on circumstances. It's built on conviction. It's not about how loudly you start, but how faithfully you continue. Motivation feels good, but commitment produces results. It's the anchor that holds you steady through seasons of uncertainty. Those who live by motivation ride waves of emotion, but those who live by commitment build unshakable foundations. Success is never about how excited you were at the beginning. It's about how steadfast you remain until the end. Perseverance turns failure into progress because it transforms every setback into a stepping stone for growth. Failure is not the end unless you choose to stop trying. Those who persevere understand that defeat is temporary, but quitting makes it permanent. Perseverance is the silent strength that keeps you standing when everything around you seems to fall apart. It's the ability to keep pushing forward, learning from mistakes, and refusing to let failure define you. Every time you rise after falling, you become stronger, wiser, and more prepared for what's next. Perseverance changes how you see failure. It no longer feels like loss, but like a lesson wrapped in disguise. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they lack endurance. They give up right before the breakthrough. Perseverance teaches you that every failure carries feedback, every disappointment carries direction. Each time you fall short, life is giving you a chance to adjust your strategy, refine your vision, and develop the resilience required for long-term success. The road to greatness is never smooth, but those who persevere keep walking even when it's uphill. They know progress isn't always visible, but as long as they don't stop, growth is happening beneath the surface. Perseverance builds character. It tests your faith in yourself and your purpose. When you keep going through frustration and pain, you prove that your dream is worth fighting for. Each time you endure, your capacity expands. You become more patient, more determined, and more focused. Perseverance doesn't remove obstacles, it equips you to overcome them. It reminds you that success is not about avoiding failure, but about refusing to surrender to it. The difference between a person who succeeds and one who doesn't often comes down to who is willing to try one more time. Failure, when met with perseverance, becomes a teacher rather than a tombstone. It shows you what doesn't work so you can discover what does. Perseverance turns wounds into wisdom and pain into purpose. It replaces fear with courage, because once you've survived failure, you realize that it can no longer control you. Every setback becomes fuel for your comeback. You begin to see that progress isn't always about moving fast. It's about moving forward, no matter how slowly. History is filled with stories of people who failed countless times but refused to give up. Their perseverance carved paths where none existed before. They understood that progress doesn't come from perfection, but from persistence. Every failure they encountered became a building block for their success. Perseverance gives meaning to struggle and direction to disappointment. It's the force that turns broken pieces into a masterpiece. When you persevere, failure loses its power to stop you and becomes the reason you grow. It's through perseverance that you turn every fall into a rise, every setback into strength, and every ending into a new beginning. The one thing is showing up, no matter what, because success is built on the foundation of presence and persistence. Most people wait for the perfect moment, the right feeling, or ideal circumstances before taking action. But the truth is, there is never a perfect time. The people who rise, achieve, and transform their lives are those who show up consistently, even when it's uncomfortable, inconvenient, or uncertain. Showing up means being there when it's hard, when no one notices, and when progress feels invisible. It's the quiet act of faith that says, I may not see results yet, but I'll keep going. Every time you show up, you send a message to life that you are serious about your purpose. Showing up is the difference between those who talk about dreams and those who live them. It's not about having everything figured out. It's about taking one step at a time, no matter how small. When you show up daily, you build momentum, discipline, and confidence. Even the smallest effort, repeated consistently, begins to move mountains over time. You can't control every outcome, but you can control your effort. And effort, when applied persistently, eventually creates opportunity. Success doesn't favor the most talented. It favors the most present, the ones who refuse to sit out just because the journey is tough. Showing up builds character because it demands courage. It means facing fear, fatigue, and failure head on instead of running away. It teaches resilience because every time you push through discomfort, you discover your strength. You learn that progress doesn't always feel like progress, but each moment of effort adds up silently. The act of showing up, even when you don't feel motivated, trains your mind to stay loyal to your vision. It shifts your focus from perfection to perseverance. The truth is, the battle is often won by the one who simply refuses to stop showing up. When you make showing up your standard, life begins to respond differently. Doors open, opportunities appear, and growth happens. Not because everything suddenly becomes easy, but because you've proven you can be trusted with consistency. Most breakthroughs happen after seasons of showing up with no visible reward. Those unseen moments are the ones that prepare you for everything you've been praying for. Showing up isn't about waiting for inspiration. It's about creating it through action. You don't need to be the smartest, the strongest, or the fastest. You just need to keep showing up. Every time you do, you're rewriting your story one day at a time. The world may not applaud you for your persistence, but life will always reward you for it. Showing up is where transformation begins, where progress takes root, and where faith becomes reality. It's the simplest and yet the most powerful act you can do. Just show up, regardless of how you feel, and let your consistency become the bridge between where you are and where you're meant to be. Success is not built on talent, luck, or momentary bursts of motivation. It's built on the unshakable foundation of consistency, discipline, daily habits, commitment, perseverance, and the simple act of showing up. Each of these principles connects like pieces of a greater puzzle, forming the true picture of achievement. Consistency keeps you grounded when emotions fade. Discipline shapes your focus and strengthens your will. Daily habits quietly construct the life you dream of. Commitment anchors you when motivation disappears. Perseverance transforms failures into stepping stones. And showing up again and again, no matter how you feel, turns ordinary effort into extraordinary success. Every great achiever began with the same choice: to keep going when it was easier to quit. The journey to success is not defined by how fast you start, but by how faithful you continue. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be persistent. The power to change your future lies not in what you occasionally do, but in what you do consistently with conviction. Each day is an opportunity to rewrite your story, to move closer to your purpose, to become who you were meant to be. When you understand that success is a process built through daily discipline and unwavering perseverance, you stop chasing shortcuts and start building strength. The dreamers wait for the right time, the achievers create it. The dreamers hope for opportunities, the achievers prepare for them. The dreamers wish, the achievers work. True success belongs to those who never give up, who keep showing up even when no one claps, who believe in progress even when results are invisible. So remember, the one thing that determines whether you will be successful or not is not talent, not timing, not chance. It's the decision to stay faithful to the process, to show up every day, to commit even when it's hard, and to never stop believing in the power of small, consistent action. Because in the end, success doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who work, persist, and show up no matter what.